As opposition go harder to unite themselves despite disparages, outrages, and terming others as projects, President William Ruto is working on a strategy, broadening the broad-based government. And now, once an enemy of Kabarak, today or yesterday became a friend of Kabarak. Gideon Moi joining broad-based government and Njogo KANU. Cuckoo! Welcome back to Real Talk Republic podcast all the way from Kiafrica Studios. Of course, this is Arego. For more insights, subscribe, share. Let's dig deeper. Now, today, 10th of October 2025. By the way, happy Mazingira Day if you are watching this episode right now. Wiper Patriotic Front had their NDC at Uhuru Park. While that's happening, in State House, Gideon Moi with the KANU Brigade meeting President William Ruto to explain their actions. This is after Moi Ali kutana na Rais State House. This is another episode of Handshakes. We'll dive deeper of what actually happened. You see, like Gideon Moi was an aspirant for the Baringo senatorial position, where he was going through to be a candidate on a KANU ticket. But yesterday, 9th of October, when his supporters in Baringo were waiting to accompany him to the IBC offices for his document credential submissions, he was in State House, not eating mbuta, rather not drinking mursik, but sharing a ton of the way forward to communicate to the residents. This is meeting President Ruto in State 2. Now, Moi later on, before we dive that, the supporters of Moi in Baringo, as they were waiting for Moi, they were alleging that maybe the government have stopped Moi from submitting his credential, because you know very well that Moi have not been seeing eye to eye. The Moi family have not been in good terms with President William Ruto, even when the late President Toroitich Arap Moi was alive. At a point, if you can trace back to history, President Ruto alikatazwa kuona mstaafu mwafu, the late President Moi alistopishwa. So there have been some sour terms between the families. Now you see Moi is the director mkubwa wa Standard. You see whatever that particular media have been doing, injecting the government thoroughly, because they have been out of power, and Ruto paid back. How did William Ruto pay back to the Moi? By the way, he ensured that all Moi's names were stripped of the Kenyan political seats, positions. From Baringo to Rongai. I'm talking about Jonathan Moi. Baringo, Gideon Moi. In 2022, Ruto worked tirelessly. And now, in the preparation of this particular senatorial by-election in Baringo, by-elections are very, very important for the government and have been important to the governments if we can trace back. And amongst the key factors that the government of President William Ruto are counting on to test waters into are the Baringo senatorial position and Mbeere North positions. This is where the opposition, the one-term brigade, want to show off of their capabilities. And if Moi was still on the race to that particular position, let me tell you, Chief, not even a DCP candidate or even a Jubilee candidate will clinch that particular position. But automatically, Moi, in one of my articles I wrote back then, that Moi will one day make a comeback to this to Senate. For that particular article, I was anticipating 2027, but it came to be this year. That was according to me, it came to be this year. And when the senator for Baringo, the late passed, I made another article again and said, this is the time that Moi is coming back. And it was going to be automatical. It's like, example, I can give you an example of Governor of Siaya, who, when the times was still ripe for him, when campaigning to be a senator, he never made any attempt to meet the grassroots. He just says, Orengo, and everyone votes Orengo. This is the time that Moi could be making it. His name was enough to make him to get him to the Senate. And now Chemutai was in a coma, political coma. But it seemed like, I mean, when he met President Ruto, I'm guessing rightfully that he said, Moi unafanya naye nini? Si umcheze Moi hivi kwa sababu that was the biggest threat, not even the opposition. And opposition, I believe, if time could pass by, the opposition could back on Moi. They could back on Moi because Moi had not yet made clear his political stand, whether he's in government or in opposition until right now. And this is a ticket or a card that have been played, strategical card that have been played by President William Ruto. President William Ruto have been playing this. And now he wanted to disrupt opposition, united opposition. But before we enter, we tackle on how President William Ruto alikuwa anataka disrupt the opposition. I want to read you a point that was made by one of the chairman, one of the members of KANU, that is Samburu, one MP from Samburu, Nesula Lesuda, who was addressing Moi yesterday. She tweeted, "My dear chairman, Honorable Gideon Moi, we have had many conversations in private and I have never addressed you in public, but the matter being discussed is of national importance. The choice to run or not to run for Baringo senatorial seat is purely your personal decision. Since you must have done an introspect of whether to or not, despite the many voices you have listened to, who you also choose to work with in the national politics moving forward is your personal decision. My only concern, and of many who have believed in you and the party, is your choice not to give direction and not to communicate on time of your decision. We feel not listened to, not heard of, or felt, especially the felt part. Chairman addressed your supporters of your decision. Lead with empathy, carrying us along. God bless." That was Naisula Lesuda. After, I think Moi read Naisula's comment, and then today, 10th of October, it's official. KANU is amongst the members of Broadbased government. KANU is making membership into Broadbased government. Ruto alongside Moi are addressing this issue and the reason why it is important for Moi to join them in Broadbased government. And now the brigade is now increasing. The brigade of President Broadbased government is now becoming bigger, and that of our opposition is also building themselves. But where do we see this into? As we anticipate by elections, let us have a bet on this. Baringo senatorial position is going to be clinched by a UDA candidate. I mean, the government. You've seen even the deputy president making campaigns from Barren North, which also will be clinched by the government. And for Malava, it's time for Seth Panyako. Let's have it fact that Seth Panyako is going to make entry this time round, like he's going to locate him to parliament. But in Kasipul, where you saw the ODM brigade was there, the whole of it, they were campaigning. So this is a parliamentary position that the whole team from Orange Democratic Movement joined to campaign for Boyd Were. It's, I don't know, how would you call this one? Sometimes back, it was simple for ODM. And now, it's becoming so tight, so difficult for ODM. I mean, the ground is listening and things are changing. But there is where we got a unity of all leaders, because there was Secretary General of ODM, and then there was the incoming governor of Nairobi. The baseline of these episodes, let's find how the governments have made by-elections being important to them. First thing, as I've outlaid, it is because they're trying the waters to see whether they are terms or whether they becomes they're still popular in the grounds. I mean, now I can give you an examples of some of the by-elections that were made past of the past governments, where you could see the deputy president, the president joining into the campaigns, where you could see also the administration of President Moi, whereby he had to block people from accessing the poll station in order to ensure that his candidate, that is in 1996, his candidate wins that particular position. That was in Rift Valley. And back then, when history was still old, there is Jomo Kenyatta who ensured that Bildad Kagia's opposition never saw it to power. And the opposition are also trying to convince the people that things are shifting. I mean, this is the things. Opposition align themselves. Broad-based government riping themselves to be deeper. And what's else? What's left? Let's see where William Ruto takes the collection, as insiders insist that Kalonzo Musyoka still remains our preference and a key ally that we are seeking from the united opposition. Till next time, Tango, this is Arego.